Isaac Newton. The name itself suggests genius. An apple falling from a tree, a prism splitting light into a rainbow, the laws that govern the stars. He was a titan of science. He gave us calculus, the laws of motion, universal gravitation. He built the foundations of modern physics. By any measure, he was one of the most intelligent humans to have ever lived. His mind could grasp the vast, silent dance of the cosmos. Yet this very same man lost a fortune in a moment of pure financial madness. His story is a stark and powerful reminder. When the roar of the crowd becomes deafening, even the greatest intellect can be swept away. To understand this failure, we must travel back in time. We must go to London in the year 1720, buzzing with energy, ambition, a dangerous new idea. An idea promising impossible wealth to anyone bold enough to join. Newton was about to face a force he could not quantify, the irrational exuberance of his fellow man. His loss is a timeless warning, dramatic, immediate, deeply human. In the early 18th century, Britain was a rising power, but it was also burdened by a massive national debt from years of war. Into this environment stepped the South Sea Company. It presented a grand and seemingly ingenious plan. The company would take over a large portion of the government's debt. In exchange, the government would grant it exclusive trading rights with the Spanish colonies of South America, the South Seas. Gold, silver, other exotic goods. It was a story that captured the public imagination. The company's stock was offered to the public, and the public responded with a frenzy. The price began to climb. At first, the rise was steady. Then it became steep. Coffee houses in London, halls of parliament, newspapers, pamphlets, stories of ordinary people making extraordinary fortunes spread like wildfire. Blacksmiths, merchants, aristocrats, politicians. The company became a symbol of a new era of prosperity. Seeing everyone else getting rich created a powerful, irresistible urge to join in. The hype was masterfully orchestrated. The company's directors included powerful political figures. That lent an air of official approval and safety. They spread rumors of fantastical trade deals, mountains of gold just waiting to be claimed, members of the royal court, famous writers. The actual trading business with South America, however, was almost non-existent. War, Spanish restrictions, logistical nightmares. The company's real business was selling its own ever more expensive stock. The value was not in the assets, but in the story. Isaac Newton, then in his late 70s, was not just a scientist. He was also the master of the Royal Mint. A respected public figure, a savvy investor, he was no stranger to finance. He watched the initial rise with a practiced, analytical eye. He saw an opportunity and invested a significant sum. As the stock climbed, he followed his plan. He sold his shares, walking away with a handsome profit of around £7,000, a fortune at the time. He had played the game perfectly. He had entered, captured a gain, and exited before things got too crazy. His decision was the very model of rational investing. He expressed skepticism that the rise could continue. It had disconnected from real value. For a moment, Newton the logician had triumphed. But after he sold, the unthinkable happened. The stock did not fall. It kept rising. The mania intensified. Holders doubled, tripled their money. The applause grew louder. From the outside, it looked like he had sold too early, punished for prudence. Driven by the fear of missing out, and perhaps a touch of bruised ego, Isaac Newton abandoned his earlier caution. He re-entered the market. He didn't just dip a toe, he plunged, investing a much larger sum near the peak of the frenzy. He joined the herd at the most dangerous moment, prices wildly inflated, risk at its highest. The smartest man in the world succumbed to the oldest folly, chasing past performance and following the crowd. For a brief moment, it seemed right. But the foundation was made of sand. The bubble was inflated by hype and credit. A few large early investors quietly cashed out. Supply started to outweigh demand. Doubts crept in. The first cracks appeared. The price wobbled, then dipped. Uncertainty morphed into fear, then outright panic. The collapse was swift and brutal. Everyone rushed to sell. There were no buyers left. Prices plummeted. In weeks, the stock lost over 80%. Fortunes built in months were wiped out in days. Cheers turned to despair. Families ruined. Businesses bankrupt. Newton, having bought at the top, was caught in the avalanche. He reportedly said, "I can calculate the motion of heavenly bodies, but not the madness of people." Oh. Newton's story begs the question, why do intelligent, rational people make such irrational financial decisions? The answer lies not in a lack of intelligence, but in powerful cognitive biases hardwired into the human brain. First is herd behavior. We follow the group. In markets, we follow the trend. If everyone is buying, it feels safer to buy too. The crowd becomes proof. Second is simple greed, amplified by the fear of missing out. Others' easy money triggers powerful emotion. Greed clouds risk. We focus on upside, ignore the possibility of devastating loss. Finally, overconfidence and recency bias seal the trap. Smart people overestimate timing skill. Recent gains feel permanent. The anatomy of manias repeats, 1720 or today. Think of the dot-com boom. No profits, sometimes no revenue, astronomical prices. Then housing. Prices only go up, until they didn't. The cryptocurrency boom skyrocketed, then crashed spectacularly. Armies of retail investors on social media drove struggling companies to absurd levels. Hype over value. If even a genius like Newton can fall, how can ordinary people protect themselves? The answer is not to be smarter, but to be more disciplined. Build a simple, robust framework to guide decisions before emotions take over. Your guardrail. First, pause and doubt. When an asset soars and euphoria peaks, step back. Ask, why is it rising so fast? What's the real value? Is growth supported by earnings and revenue, or fueled purely by story and speculation? Second, limit your exposure. Diversify. In hype cycles, only risk what you can truly afford to lose. Third, set exit rules before you buy. Define profit targets and stop losses. Write them down and stick to them. Finally, learn from history. Study the signs, parabolic rises, unverifiable stories, mass participation, ridicule for skeptics. The story of Isaac Newton and the South Sea Bubble is more than a historical anecdote. It is a timeless parable. Markets are not just charts and numbers. They're driven by human emotions. They reflect our collective hopes, fears, and ambitions. Newton uncovered mechanical laws of the universe, but was undone by human nature. No amount of intellect makes us immune to the herd. Self-awareness often matters more than raw intelligence. Know your triggers: greed, fear of being left out, overconfidence. Build rules and honor them. When history repeats, intelligence is not immunity.